Aloha, welcome to Akaku. Thank you for coming tonight. We're really honored to have the creative team of the upcoming documentary, Lahaina, Rising from the Ashes, with us tonight. I wanted to speak just very briefly about documentary work, of which they're doing a documentary. And documentary is very fly on the wall. It's really just being an observer, trying to document events that are happening in real time, talking to people who are affected by those events, et cetera. And it's a record for historical reasons. And history is really important. The reason why we want to look at history, we want to document history, is so we can do better in the future, right? So even though it's difficult sometimes, and the topics can be very difficult to document, it's really important. And I really applaud these gentlemen here, part of the creative team, and I know it's much bigger than who we have here tonight, because it's very difficult when you're part of the community to document something happening to yourself and your community, and that's hard work. So we're really pleased tonight that they were willing to share their trailer, they're willing to show some excerpts, willing to talk about some of the topics that they really wanted to touch base on within the context of their documentary. And I'd like to introduce to you Matty Schweitzer, co-director of the film, Blake Remelb with producing, and producer DeAndre here tonight. So there will be time for Q&A as we get deeper into the evening. They will be presenting their trailer and some excerpts. If you have any emotional response to some of the things you're seeing, we understand. These are only excerpts, it's not the whole film yet. I do want to say that they are still in the phase of finding funding to complete their film. There's a QR code by the Calabash Bowl at the entry that if you feel like you have the ability to help them in their work, feel free to do so. There's also a bowl out there for any donations that you'd like to make in cash to their efforts tonight. I'd like to turn it over to the team to introduce themselves, talk about the intention, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. Thank you.
First of all, just want to thank you, Kat, and everyone at Akaku. You guys have been following this, obviously, from the start and reached out many times to us to be able to share this story. And we're getting a lot of momentum. We have things changing every single day, but we're just very grateful to you guys in this platform to be able to share this, as well as all of you guys for coming here today, whether you are affected or whether you're just interested in learning a little bit about what we're doing. We just really appreciate and mahalo all of you guys. Again, I'm director of this film, Matty Schweitzer. This is my team here. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. How's it going, everyone? Thank you guys for coming. First off, it means a lot that you guys are here. My name is Blake Remelb. I'm from Lahaina. With this film in particular, before you guys watch the trailer, I see a lot of faces here. Just know it can be kind of heavy. So if there's any points that you feel like you need to walk away, take a breath, please feel free to do so. I mean, we're in this documentary every single day, working hard on it, and it's our town as well. And it's a difficult thing, but at the very end of the film, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of inspiration. And we really touch on what truly started the fire. It's a step for Hiko and all of that. It's a very emotional thing, and I just want to make sure you guys check in with yourselves through it as well.
Aloha Makakoa. My name is DeAndre Makakoa. I also want to thank everybody for being here. It's truly an honor and privilege to be in this position to get to showcase this film. We think it's going to be very impactful. You know, like they're saying, this is more than just like a project or a documentary to us, because this is our lives that we're kind of trying to portray or showcase. Like, we lost so much, and we've given and sacrificed so much, not even just in terms of the film, but in terms of, you know, everything that we've gone through in the past year. So to be able to tell this story is more than just passion. It's almost like, in a way, we can provide that justice for our community by telling the story that we know is true, coming from the community ourselves. So we just want to thank you for being along on this journey with us, and hope that we can provide the impact that we want to. Mahalo.
All right, so I guess before we get too into an overview of kind of how we got into this and why we got into this, I guess we can go ahead and start with our trailer. But again, yeah, if you're from Lahaina, yeah, just keep in mind this is going to be the only part of the night where there's some triggering scenes. The other two 10-minute segments that we're going to be showing, we don't want to show any fire. We don't want to show any devastation. We guarantee we have the largest bank of media and cell phone footage and police footage and fire footage of August 8th. But everybody knows about that, and we want to show the root cause from before August 8th, what led to this, as well as the beautiful, amazing way that all of us, our community, came together. So, yeah, please get ready. We're going to have the trailer here. So, yeah, hold on. I think this is only 5 minutes or so. Thank you.
8, 2023, 15 hours, 31 minutes, 57 seconds.
911.
Hi, we got a fire out here. It's about a quarter mile down the road. There's a downed power line. There's a fire right down the road.
Ma'am,
We're how we're gonna get out.
okay, hold on, we're coming, okay? I gotta get them coming to you.
Okay.
MG, wrong turn! Wrong turn! Oh shit! Oh shit! No, not like this! Not like this! Not like this! No! God! Car!
From a Hawaiian point of view, we are not at all separate of our environment. The land is the chief, and us Kanaka, or the people, are its servants.
The relationship between the way we steward land, I think also came from the journeys that our people did over thousands of years across the Pacific. Well, you know, what is a canoe but an island also? Island people know how to live on the planet Earth better than anybody else, because what is Earth but an island in the universe with limited resources?
Yeah, when we speak to the old Lahaina and its abundance, that's often asked there, what happened to it or where is it? There's still an understanding that you need that land in order for you to exist.
What home would look like to me in my Hawaii? Not dead grass, not brown land, it'd be green.
I lived on Maui close to 50 years, and I've never seen the wind in Lahaina like that.
Across the street, then all the power lines hit the road.
Just get out of Lahaina.
Oh, the entire city?
The entire city, yes. Just get out of Lahaina.
But I cannot get out of my door. There's flames blowing into the house, and I got a baby with me.
You gotta find some way to get to the ocean.
I prayed as hard as I can see you again. I love you. Please don't ever forget that. I love you.
At the end of the day, if it happened to us, it can happen to anybody. You know, and that's the shitty thing to realize, yeah. It's like, fucking happened. And who's to blame, huh? There's a lot of people pointing fingers, and really all we gotta do is just help.
Residents were cut off from supplies and communication following last month's devastating wildfires. Some residents stepped up to the plate to help.
They're delivering supplies to survivors any way they can, including on their own surfboards.
That's just the community, people being like.
Communities, family helping families.
It's all grassroots.
All grassroots, 100%. Every person you see back here their time is donated. Nobody gets paid. No federal aid.
County?
Nope.
We have many hands working together to make things happen, and it just, in the light of all this, it's been the beauty.
It wasn't just us, the entire community really stepped up and came together.
We are just witnessing the best community efforts ever right now.
Like I said, for the community first, agriculture, parks, before the results.
Pertaining to wherever you are or you find yourself to support an effort, it would be best in your interests and everyone else's to work within the indigenous people of that space. They can definitely come from a different understanding due to the relationship, you know, reestablish the balance of the environment and the people.
Give us back our water resource that is a public resource.
Currently, our reliance on tourism leans heavily towards an extractive model that takes more than it gives back.
The most important thing we can do is fight for future generations. Like, don't wait till a fire burns down your hometown to decide you're gonna get involved.
We're from Maui, born and raised in the most beautiful place in the world. We're surrounded by beauty. My world is the ocean sports industry. I've been filming for 15 years, and I'm lucky enough to be from a family that's very successful in the ocean sports industry. So my life has just been event after the event, after all sports, recreation, and fun. Life is fun, life is great, and all I've ever done is try to show the world how amazing Maui is, how amazing the sports that we have here, how beautiful it is, and really just to excite people and get them up out of their seat to want to go outside and do something fun. Obviously, when this happened, this is something much different. I've never done anything like this before in my life, working on something that has this much meaning, but at the same time, it's heavy. It's not fun. Every day in the office together is it's an emotional roller coaster. I cried today, I cried yesterday. It's we're not filmmakers trying to take advantage of this situation, right? We are born and raised in Lahaina. Us two are fortunate enough to still have our home. Us two didn't lose our home. DeAndre here is not lucky enough to say the same. You know, he's been bouncing all over, stayed on the beach for quite a long time, and now luckily has a place. But we've all gone through this in different ways, and at least for myself, and I know Blake as well, just the fact that we still had a home to go to, it gave us this motivation to just, we need to do something. And that something was not filming for the first few weeks. We were there, we're as community members, we were trying to help. We were helping people survive for the first few weeks. That's all we could do. And the little filming that we did do, we do have footage from the day after and things like that, but we were helping people see if their house is still standing. We were helping my sister see if her place is still there. We were, you know, it was much more about search and recovery than it was trying to document and make a film, right? And as time went on and this process kept going, and we had so much to do, there was so much meaning to our life for the first few months, even though it was sad, it was devastating, it was horrible. But to see the community come together the way it did, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I know that most places around the world would not respond the way that we did. Hopefully they will now, after seeing us and our community and the efforts that everybody put in. But after a few weeks, and I have Blake right by my side every day, you know, we were in the water, up late at night, doing whatever we could But all of a sudden, when we're in conversations and meetings that were just all of a sudden over our head. We're in conversations about housing and how to rebuild, and we were getting dragged in so many different directions that we didn't have experience in. And it really, I had a big realization where, you know, what is the best thing I can do for my efforts and my experience and my knowledge? Like, how can I best help my community? And after about week 6 or so, you know, we're getting clips here and there, but again, it was for a different reason. You know, I really, Blake and I, we were there together from the start, and we were like, we have to do this. We have to tell our story. We see camera crews everywhere, people coming in from all over the world, and there's a lot of amazing people that truly came out here to give, and to help. But there's also people that came out to take advantage, and it's quite obvious, you know, with some of the media crews and things like that. So we committed ourselves, we committed our team, made a commitment that no matter what it takes, we're going to be the ones to tell this story, even if it's just out on YouTube and it's a small project. We had no idea it would grow to be what it is now. I actually met DeAndre in one of the meetings, community meetings, just right away at the Westin, and seeing not just his talent, but his passion, right? He was affected even more than us, but his, the way a lot of people deal with things is fight or flight, and he was one of those guys that was gonna fight, you know? And we could tell that right away, and his passion for even political science and some of these issues that go on in Lahaina as a Kanaka and Hawaiian, it was just, once us three kind of came together, it was like we instantly knew this was going to be unstoppable. Again, no matter how small or big this was going to be. We're really appreciative to the support that we've gotten so far, and we really think this is gonna make a really big impact. But I'd like to hand this over to Blake for a second, and for those of you that don't know, we'll pass it over to all three of these guys, but Blake has been an absolutely instrumental person in this community when it comes to just getting the word out. Again, we were able to find the 1 or 2 or 3 Starlinks when nobody had service or internet, and get the word out. And Blake was a very vital piece of this community when it comes to producing this film, the connections that we've made. It's been very vital for everyone on this team. DeAndre has brought on some of the most important, knowledgeable people in this project, and Blake is out there really every single day, shaking hands, giving hugs. He's involved with the community. We're not locking ourselves in and trying to tell this story. We're still involved in every single thing that's going on. So I'd like Blake to maybe touch a little bit about his background, his passions, and maybe what motivates you as well.
Yeah, so I'll just say a little bit here. In the very beginning of this disaster, it was never my intention to pick up a camera or do anything like that, post on social media, anything along those lines. Probably for the first couple months, all I did was, I was out on a boat ramp. My family had a hub up Lahaina Luna at my grandma's house, and then just trying to connect all the hubs together and then figure out what the needs were, whether that be the air purifiers or certain clothes, gas, or all that kind of stuff. But somewhere along the way, when I met up with Matty, we're there together every single day, I realized there's all these camera crews coming in from outer island, and I feel like we don't know what story they're gonna tell, what people are gonna see from this entire situation. And that's where I was like, I think we gotta do this thing. We have to let Lahaina tell the story, people from Lahaina, let the community get involved, because we're in it. And that's what really drove me through this entire thing. The documentary I truly wanted to make was about that community involvement. And we can't do that without telling the story of how we got there, what the people went through, and what we want to see for future generations. It's always been my dream to make a documentary. I never really knew what it would be about or what I wanted to do with it. I just never knew. And then when this opportunity came up to help represent my community and making sure their voices got heard, it was an absolute no-brainer. And this guy right here, all of us, everyone part of the team, like, even though this is our project that we're putting out there, this isn't ours at the same time. It's the people of Lahaina. It's the people of Maui. It's the people that support us from across the world. So, yeah. I want to hand this over to DeAndre just because he's been impacted. He lost his home and he's dealing with a lot. But this guy has been fighting so freaking hard every single day and continues to do the community efforts every single day. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for not just Matty, but DeAndre. I consider these guys my brothers now, so. All right.
Yeah, it's actually, the way we all came together is it was very random, but almost like fate-like. You know, the day I met Blake, he broke my microphone, but he promptly replaced it. But we were there actually interviewing community leaders and getting information that ended up becoming a big part of the documentary. And we didn't even know it at the time because we weren't planning to film a documentary. And like they were saying, in the beginning was just how do we help our community. We weren't filming with the intention of making a documentary. The first time I ever filmed was actually filming crowds of people because we were doing the relief runs coming in and out from Lahaina. So when we would get out of Lahaina and we'd have reception, we'd upload it to our stories and then people would be able to look and be like, oh, that's my family member. Oh, my cousin's in your story, and we'd just do that. That's how we were filming. And then transition to documenting. We had to fix people's roofs, so we're flying the drones so you could get before and after photos for their insurance. And then someone actually that day told me that I better get my ASS off the roof and start doing something with the camera, because if we're not the ones telling the story, then who is? And then so that's where we transitioned, and I was very lucky to meet these guys. I've learned so much under Matty's leadership and Blake's tenacity. It's very awesome team. But yeah, like I said earlier, it's about kind of justice for me. Like, we all have our part of the film that we kind of advocate for the most and we push the hardest for, and it's like our designated spot. And for me, it's that justice piece, because this fire started not on August 8th because of a negligent utility company. This fire started over 130 years ago with the over-extraction of our natural resources, the unsustainable practices of Western imperialism culture, and just the degradation of Hawaiian values of sustainability. And that's how this fire started in my eyes, and that's the historical aspect that's the most important to me that I want to tell, is that if we operate with sustainability and the aina and the vai first, then everybody flourishes and everybody benefits, and then we could live happily in an ideal world.
On that topic too, we realize that we have a platform that could affect possibly this whole island, depending on how big this gets and where we have the possibility of going right now. We want to make sure that we are sending a positive message, positive inspiration. We don't want to prevent tourism. We don't want to prevent our islands from growing, but we do want to be able to help plant the seed of doing things the right way. Whether it's ecotourism, whether it's putting more money, resources, effort back into the local economy rather than outside sources and tourism. We don't go deep into politics at all on this film. That is not the point of this film. Again, the community coming together and standing up is the point of this film. But there's little things throughout that we need to touch, right? And we have an opportunity to really plant a good seed for our future generations. As you see, DeAndre has 2 young kids here. They are way calmer than my 3 kids. I could not have even brought one. We've done this whole film out of my house with 5 kids crawling all over us most of the time, and 20 chickens, a dog, and all that other stuff. But it's been fun. It's been a process, and again, the connections, the people that we have had. We don't want to take advantage of any natural disasters. We don't want to take advantage of what has happened. But like Paella here in the back, you know, he's been a really, really inspiration to, I think, the community as well as being a young person to fight, right? To fight, to continue to see any opportunity that we have for a positive future. I have 3 kids, and hardest thing in the world was 6 days after the fire, sending them off on a one-way ticket, not knowing how long they'd be back. So it's a big motivation for myself. I'm sure it is with all of us, that just we want to make sure that we somehow can have anything to do with a better Lahaina.
With the impact of this film, I think when you're going to see this next section is we don't want to just, you know, focus on inspiring the people of Maui or Hawaii itself. All of these things that you see here can be related to a lot of issues from around the world. So we're hoping to open out a lot of people's eyes. Like, if it happened in Lahaina, it can also happen to your community. This is how our community responded. This is how the fire truly happened. We can learn from all this. And through this process, like what DeAndre was saying, I learned so much through this year. So much about myself, so much about this place. And I've been truly educated. I'm learning more and more each day. So I think the more we can do that for the future and then show that in our documentary, the better. Because that's where it all starts. It starts with becoming educated and then taking action. So I think, yeah.
Just a reminder, just so you guys know, we are still in crunch time right now with this edit. We have our editor right now working in our office as we speak. We have an amazing opportunity that Sundance Film Festival has actually listened to us and heard of us and seen what we're doing, and has given us an official extension to submitting to Sundance Film Festival. For those that don't know, it's even probably bigger than anything in the industry. It's a dream, just to be able to even have them be aware of what's going on. So we have like 20 days of just crunch time right now. We're moving things around daily. You're gonna see about a 10-minute segment of what we're considering unity, a little bit about ancient Hawaii and the unity between humans and the land. Big part of this film, the consistent theme, is that relationship between humans and the land, with the emphasis on community, right? Community is important, people are important, but the relationship that we're able to have with the land is really what we're trying to inspire. So with that said, this is a rough draft. Some of the audio levels are not there yet. We haven't quite said this is not finished, so please bear with us. There might be some text that pops up on the screen as a placeholder. But story is there. Again, we're not showing you everything, but this will be about a quick 10-minute segment of what we're calling our unity beginning of the film here.
He aliki ka aina, he koa ke kanaka. The land is chief, and we its servants. In the vast blue of the Pacific, Polynesian voyagers follow the stars. Whispers of wind in the heartbeat of the sea. They found the Hawaiian Islands, emerald gems cradled by the ocean. Here they live in rhythm. Hands in the soil, souls in the waves. Knowing the land was to be honored, never owned. Centuries passed. The Aina flourished. A people painted their lives with song, with dance, with heartbeat of the earth. Lahaina, the Venice of the Pacific. Once the pulse of a kingdom, where Kamehameha united the islands under one sky. And tides of change swept in, weaving diversity of its people into its ancient roots. Still Lahaina stood, where ocean and land are lifeblood, where the spirit of aloha rises. In every breath, in joy and sorrow, the people stand together. Neighbors lifting neighbors, strangers becoming ohana, bound in love by land, by the strength of unity. Lahaina rises now more than ever. By standing hand in hand, we inspire our next generation to come.
The fire has been devouring houses at this point. We have to drive past them to get out. So I say press the gas.
Okay, Danny, I'll see you later.
Okay, Mom, calm down, okay?
Okay.
Mom, you're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
Phone call completed.
Holy shit. Bebe, did you feel that?
Yeah.
You felt the heat?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the fire.
That's from a fire.
Oh my god.
And over there, the fire.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Oh my
hot.
god.
And that's so scary and hot.
It's
You
down
die.
here. What the fuck?
Hey Siri, call Darius.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Calling Darius Boy Bay Bay. Home.
At least they're not home.
This is gonna be so hungry too. Look, the sprinklers.
Bro, the way that I...
dog. Mom?
Yes.
Where are you? Where are you?
We're going down the new houses. Mom, don't stop. Don't stop.
What are you doing?
Diverting our waters in let's say, poor management ways, you know, 100% away from the stream, which took away from the recharge and all that shit, yeah, like, so that's when the fire really started, you know, when all of that started is what led us to be in the conditions that we're in today, where we can lose a whole town from a fire. It started 130 years ago when all of this stuff started to take away and change our landscapes.
From a Hawaiian point of view, we are not at all separate of our environment. Even when we talk about land, we talk about ʻAina, and we have within that word is ʻai, and that is what nourishes you. Food is what nourishes you. ʻai means food.
The relationship between the way we steward land, I think also came from the journeys that our people did over thousands of years across the Pacific. Well, you know, what is a canoe but an island also? You know, I believe island people know how to live on the planet Earth better than anybody else, because what is Earth but an island in the universe with limited resources? We cannot just go off to another planet and feel like we can populate that area. So I think island people have the best understanding of how to live on the planet Earth.
We know that we live on an island. Our resources are finite, and we ruin our place. There is nowhere for us to run. So that Hawaiian ideology is taking care of your ʻAina, and you know, we see it as the chief. The land is the chief, and us Kanaka, or the people, are its servants.
Nobody owned the land, not even the chiefs. The land was owned by the gods. The chiefs' sole purpose was to take care of the Maka'ainana, the common people who cared for the land, and in return, it showed favor on the chiefs. The gods showed favor on the chiefs because they were taking care of the lands.
Lahaina was known as a place of abundance. It is known to have a high population and an environment that could sustain it.
In an outpour system, the Hawaiians was able to take nature to even a higher level, degree of sustenance, but also sustainability even better than nature could. The ability of Lahaina to produce doesn't just come from just being Lahaina without people in it to nurture and to propagate the plants and the foods, but at the same time maintaining that balance in which the land was in.
Back in the day, the way things were done was a reflection of being in touch and in tune with your place. How the chief knew that he had a good, healthy community was through the efforts of his konahiki. So the konahiki provided the land to the people, farmed the land, and made sure that the people got what they needed to farm the land. So that when the chief came, how he measured the success of his community was on the wealth of food that they produced when he visited, and the health and well-being of that community, the stature of their people, how they looked. Were they healthy? Were they well fed? Were they able to take care of their community? Was the community able to take care of the people?
So one thing always talked about, right, is the Kauaula winds. Legendary winds that come through every generation or so. Comes through so strong and it just flattens the entire town. Trees, everything, down to the ground. Our Kanaka never have access to the technologies that we see now. So what caused the Kauaula winds back then? Maybe it was a hurricane that missed the islands and was so far off the coast that they didn't even see it, but they did see the effects of it.
How's it on this Thursday? The quiet conditions continue in the Central Pacific, so things are looking pretty good. Although we could see some stronger winds as Hurricane Dora comes close to the islands sometime early next week. But at this point, it's not a threat, right? It's over 2,000 miles away.
So it's still a tropical storm, which means sustained winds of about 70 miles per hour. We're expecting that to weaken as it goes over colder water. When storms like this go over water that's 27 degrees Celsius or less, they weaken.
Fan continuing to build in. There's a big pressure difference from that high pressure fan and also Dora low pressure system that you can see to the south of us. With that hurricane, it's still a major category 4, and you see the winds at the center 130. Now it's going to make its closest approach to the island, and then that area of high pressure, they're going to both work together to funnel in very strong winds across the entire island chain, and that's going to last within the next 36 hours.
I woke up to the sound of my air conditioning turning off. So it was sometime after 4 in the morning. And I could hear the wind. And the wind scares me.
Oh shit!
So, you know, on the morning of August 8th, going into that early morning, the fire started up in Kula. And again, we had no idea. We just started to see, we started to receive text messages, as we do in the fire department. We received text messages of alerts of what's going on, and that was kind of the first insight of what was going on, what was going to happen that day.
At 5 in the morning, there was almost like leaves were blowing off all the trees, most of the mangoes.
Not some of the mangoes, but all of the mangoes are gone.
Music bed.
I like the weather, but not that storm. Not on August 8th, 2023.
Oh, this is live right across the street from my house. Freaking power line just went down. See them right there, that's the power line that started from up the road there. And all of that is still burning.
The fire started right here between poles 24 down the road and pole 25 that's right here between us. Across the street is pole 7A. Pole 7A was critical in how this fire originated. You see, pole 7A toppled over first. And when the top half of pole 7A came down, it stressed the lines that are connected between pole 7A as well as pole 25. The stress on the power lines because of the toppling of pole 7A is what caused the lines on pole 25 to break. Hello, gotta evacuate the fire.
On August 8th at 6:30 in the morning, I get a call from one of my guys saying, there's a fire up Lahaina Luna. I'm like, where in Lahaina Luna? Oh, it's the houses to the right. I'm like, oh, my dad lives there. Call up my dad, I'm like, hey, is there a fire up there? He's like, I don't think so, I don't see anything. walks to the back of the house. He's like, "Oh, there's a fire over here, smoke everywhere." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's a couple houses up." I'm like, "Okay, we're there." So we just loaded up and went straight up the hill, literally a mile away, and just assisted the fire department with the fire.
You guys get all everybody out there ready.
We already had dozers on it. Truth Excavation, he's a Lahaina native, he owns that. Kimo just came out and they were cutting line, and he had his water tanker there already, adding for water suppression, for fire suppression. So the fire was out, and it just needed to be kind of cleaned up.
The first part of the fire probably occurred right off pole 25 by power lines. Then the power lines near pole 24 also ignited the grass on the side of the roadway. What I'm holding in my hand is called a fulgurite. A fulgurite is created when electricity hits the ground and it turns the dirt, or it turns a rock, or turns the soil into a crystallized little rock. And this is what occurred when the power lines broke and the electricities between power pole 25 and 24 struck the ground. And I came back a week later and recovered this particular fulgurite right between pole 25 and 24. And let me explain. This is actually the beginning of the Lahaina fire.
Really what we're focusing on right now is story, and then for the next 2 weeks, really tightening everything up. Getting those little noises you hear in the background, text off of there. But again, this is a nice little just layout and roadmap for kind of what we're working on. Forgot to mention, so that was just a little sneak peek of what was the morning fire. And Jan Apo there, who has been leading the lawsuit, explaining to us what information they've gathered and how they've started that, and how they believe it started. You want to, I'll let Blake or DeAndre here take us into the next chapter that comes after this, and just explain a little bit about the chapter of what we call diversion, a little bit.
So unity is just, kind of making that connection between humans and nature, right? So diversion is now the opposite of that, with the introduction of so many different cultures, the plantation era booming, bringing in all the immigrants for labor, as well as the introduction of Western culture. That unity then started to become diverted physically and kind of spiritually, where you have the diversion of the natural stream flow to aid in the plantation agriculture, to water their crops, sugarcane and pineapple. But then in that same sense, because the people who used to, live in the valleys, used to farm, they didn't have access to that water anymore, they also became diverted, because to maintain a living, they had to then go and work on those plantations that took the water. So following the water, the people diverted themselves from their original path as well. And that's kind of what this chapter tries to encapsulate.
Yeah, so we're not showing, again, we're just showing a couple sneak peeks real quick. But really, that water is the source. Of course, water is the main key that we need. And the introduction of sugarcane and pineapples was an absolutely huge effect on the islands. We have lots of historical footage backing this up, and just trying to secure all that down right now is, again, another big goal of ours. You want to touch?
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of us know. When we talk to the Kapuna, we talk to our family members and all of that. They tell us how old Lahaina used to be, what it used to look like, how green, how lush. And I think on top of that, I just want you guys to realize too, with this last part you just watched, when you see the maps pop up or you see text coming up, see possible CGI, that's all coming. So all those maps are going to be animating with budget and all of that. And this next part too, it's a lot of still being worked on, but like Matty keeps reiterating, It's like the story of that itself. But it all starts with the water itself. And how Jan ended it was really showing how the fire that day started. But then he also introduces how like the plantation era with sugarcane and how it all used to look. And that's how we really get into this next chapter, which you're about to watch.
Awesome. So, yeah, I got one. Yep. So the next one actually that we're doing is community here, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So the next segment that we have, last segment for you guys to watch tonight, is I believe a little over 10 minutes. We want to show you guys the positive, the inspiration. Talk for a minute on this community segment before we start.
This community segment itself is probably the most important piece for me. It's really why I wanted to do this. You know, I was very involved, of course, and still am. Like my entire last year, or even more than that's been doing this work. And there's so many stories I want to tell. So much beautiful people, so much people that I didn't even know before the fire, and I now consider them family itself, you know? But going along with the story itself, we do have to follow certain characters, but we try to touch on all different aspects of community. Because as you guys all saw through the news, through social media, maybe friends, family, yourselves, what that involvement, that Aloha spirit truly was. And I think it's a really inspiring section, and we're still working on this. We're still adding in certain things, but the overall story arc it's there, I believe. But yeah, it's kind of our upper, especially after watching the fire scene that we didn't show today.
And just a reminder too, because we don't have the end of our film in here, as Blake touched, you know, and like we're all born and raised in the small town of Lahaina, and I met DeAndre after the fire. Like it's a small town. I feel like everybody knows everybody, but there's still everybody has their own circles, right? And especially on August 8th and the days after and the year after, everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own truth. We want to do our best to tell the story of Lahaina coming from the community, but reminder to everybody, especially if you are from Lahaina, that we're making sure at the end to really put it in there and remind everyone that, you know, people 2 streets down from each other experience completely different worlds sometimes. Again, on August 8th and after. So this is our best way of being able to put this together. And the one thing that I do want to touch on that Blake absolutely hates is that you're going to see Blake and I in there, right? And it's hard because we didn't want to be in this film. But as we explained, we didn't know we were making a film in the beginning. We were filming each other, doing things, unloading trucks, unloading boats, randomly. I mean, we were stressed, we were emotional, we were just trying to do anything, right? So looking at all the footage that we have, the way the story pieces together, and with that said, you're gonna see Blake and I in there. And we are filmers because we hate being on camera. But
feedback to take me out. We're filming the beginning to bring awareness to the situation. That's the reality of it. That's what I learned through this whole process. Like, there's so much I can do on the ground, but the world doesn't know what's going on, and that's why we're doing the things and filming all of that kind of good stuff. And we realize no matter how much we don't want to be in the story, that there is a piece of that probably has to be, no matter how many times I tell these guys to cut me out. But yeah, I think it's a very beautiful thing the way we did it as well.
So, like Matty was saying, this chapter community we really wanted to encapsulate the entire experience, the experience that the entire community felt and experienced. But in terms of like storytelling and things like that, we really try to narrow it down to a few key characters that the audience and the viewers can follow along and relate to. And that's why these guys are in the film, because I mean, right after the fire, they were some of the first people to step up and you know, taking supplies off of boats. I remember before I even met Blake, his PSAs were how I was judging whether or not I was bringing my family back into Lahaina with me while I was doing supply runs. So the idea of them being characters is because that was true to reality for a lot of us in Lahaina.
Here's a final segment tonight that hopefully shows some of the positive and efforts, the amazing efforts that were put in by the community.
August 8th, the paele that once was, he died that day too. And this paele you see now is the one that was reborn. And I knew whatever anger I used to put towards people, now I gotta put it towards my place, because I saw everything leading up to it.
Yeah, aloha everybody. Just coming on here to give a quick update on some of the ridiculous things that are going on for us here in Lahaina.
Afterwards, nobody knew what was going on. People haven't even been to Lahaina yet. There's so many people who were unclear of the status of what Lahaina looked like.
People here are suffering. There's not enough supplies, there's not enough food, there's not enough water.
We desperately need VHF radios, not the normal radios.
Until we have a clear path and a job of exactly what we're doing, we're just helping pick up pieces, basically.
But there are things here that are specific to people, and more people are gonna die. More than has already been, more lives than I can even count.
We need air purifiers here for all the residents that are living in Lahaina Luna.
There's nobody here, and at this point I thought for sure, you know, that night they would have had people in there already helping. At least the next morning, we had an entire community just cut off from every resource.
I'm like, everything's gone. Lahaina's gone. This is total chaos. There's no internet, there's no phone, there's no social media. Nobody knew. Nobody had an idea of how bad it was.
I just got word, guys. My brother-in-law, my girls is safe, my whole family. I don't know about my brother, guys. They good.
Hello, everyone. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone that has, texted us, tried to give us a call. I just wanted to make this video really quick because, as you can see, the town is completely burned and gone, and it's hard for me really to, communicate this. Just imagine not knowing where your mom or dad or loved one is. You don't know if they got stuck inside the house. You don't know what could have happened to them. I grew up in this town. I have so many memories here, and all of us do too. Lahaina itself burned down. This used to be the capital of Hawaii, and there's so much history here, and it's gone. There's just so many unknowns right now.
Like all the way up and down Lahaina, Oklahoma. It's already gnarly.
August 8th, 2023. My brother and I were actually over in California competing in an event that we've always wanted to do called Surfer Cross. Our dad called us.
Because Justin put,
I remember we just early first thing the next morning, we went to LAX airport.
That day I went and I bought 5 generators right off the bat. Went down to the cargo, said I need these generators shipped. I then called all my friends that surf big waves, all the jet ski guys, and I said, guys, we're coming up with a plan. We're going into Lahaina.
At this point, we were already in Wailuku, and I looked at my husband and I said, we gotta go into Lahaina.
Well, yeah. We were just begging and pleading for flights.
And she asked us, she's like, do you have family on Maui? Are you looking for your family? And Maddie and I both were like, we haven't heard from our wife and kids and our family, and she just looked at us and she slid tickets over the counter and said, the flight leaves in 20 minutes. Maddie, fucking made it.
Kailani took one group and we took the other group. They were gonna go around from Kalui Harbor to Lahaina, and we were gonna go this way. But the idea was to get into ground zero.
We called a whole bunch of people, got together a convoy of at least 10 trucks. We met, got supplies, water, food, first aid, and we made our way to Maui.
All right, so we just landed from California. We were in the car. My parents just picked us up from the airport. We have completely filled up with supplies right now, and we're on our way to Maui Harbor.
Before we even got to Lahaina, man, again, the severity of the situation, just the people that begged to get on the boat we were on.
Line up all of these boats and all of these trucks, start loading up all the supplies, whatever you can. I told the dealer officer, you're in charge. You make sure you line up all the boats and you get everybody out of here.
And we were met with police, and the conversation basically came down to, we're coming into Lahaina whether you help us or not. So you guys either escort us in and we get in safely, or we're just gonna bust through the barricade and get in, because there's people of our community that need our help.
I cannot even believe that we made it. Earlier this morning, our flights were canceling in LA. Somehow, Zane and I made it. Onto a boat, Maui, and we're going home. We're going home.
Went to my house, whatever supplies was there was no intent for us to make my house a hub, but it just became the hub. People were dropping off from Kahana to here. Supplies were being dropped off. It was at that moment I said, okay, we got this. We're going into battle mode.
I remember driving in the Pali into Lahaina, and you saw boats flying it into Lahaina. Are you serious? People are here on boats right now from Molokai, from Kihei, from Oahu, everywhere. And I would talk to people, I'm like, where'd you guys come from? And they would tell us, oh, that we came in from here and we're gonna go and do another run. And they did that. A lot of that came into the Kahana boat ramp.
When we rolled up, there was so many people already moving in Kahana. The second we got off the boat in the land, we hugged. My wife and kids were on the beach. Our whole families pretty much were on the beach. Everyone we grew up with, this is right where we're born and raised. We got to just hug 20, 30 people. Be really grateful that those people were there.
They just weren't going to let anything stop them. I think all the way around, people weren't going to let them stop, down to helicopters and private planes. Like, everyone was determined to come into Lahaina, provide aid, give whatever support they could, and they weren't going to let anybody stop them.
But it kind of got to the point where we would go to Napili Noho and they wouldn't need anything, but they would give us things. Like, hey, we have a lot of hot food, go distribute this to the neighborhood.
We didn't know how the health effects, what was gonna happen to us, even just being downwind, just being within miles of our town right now. And after 2-3 days of, being able to come home to my wife and kids and knowing there's no school left and really finding out the severity of it, it was like, I need to get my kids off the island. But, we needed to stay.
It's fucking ridiculous. This has been 2 weeks already. They're saying not to drink the water, that it's not safe. We don't even know if the air is breathable right now. Everybody's sending their fucking kids off the island. One-way tickets. There's no emergency services. 911 doesn't even work out here right now. What are we gonna do?
Operated out of my house for 3 days, and then we moved behind the Civic Center, and then we started, other hubs started standing up.
We cannot handle any more supplies, right? Already our small ohana here is working overtime to distribute accordingly the excess supply we have. Everybody who has friends, tell them come over here and help us distribute supplies. We gotta go door to door and make sure everyone has what they need at this point.
When the time is necessary, we come together. And it was amazing. I mean, the community, we saved, the community saved the community.
People who have lost almost everything themselves are, of course, finding ways to help others.
Some residents stepped up to the plate to help.
this might not be the solution, but this is what people are asking for. And if people are asking it from me, I'm gonna do my best to get it to them.
To have many skilled watermen and local fishermen in our community that are willing to donate their own time and resources to keep our community afloat.
The thing that we haven't lost here in Maui and Lahaina is our hope and our community spirit and our history. So we want to make sure to rebuild that as much as we can.
I just am very grateful. I know we all are. I know the people who are receiving the services are, and we hear it from them time and time again.
All right, so that's about the first, I'd say, 2/3 of our community section. We're really excited to show. I wish it kept going because I'm really excited for the ending that we have going now.
Yeah, so in the community section, that's just kind of like what we're showing right now is like that first couple weeks. We obviously do go more in depth a little bit with the mental health side, all of the different people that really involved, maybe not necessarily them, but touching on all aspects that was, community itself. Also, if you're okay with me doing this, I kind of want to do like a very quick PSA on that. If you know anyone that might have footage that's community, preferably horizontal, within the next couple of days, I would love to get that. We're not using everything, of course, but at the same time, throughout, we're just telling the story right now. We're still inputting the best clips that we can possibly get. And that's also to be said for people around the world, because we understand, like, when Matty was over in California, he heard about the fires in his own hometown from being across the ocean over there. And there was so much help coming from places, San Diego, from New Zealand, like all around the world, and we want to recognize that too, right? So I'm currently working on trying to get as much footage for that as possible. That's kind of one of my tasks right now, is trying to, show what we can when we can. Like I said, the story is there, and this is only a part of it, and it's mostly that very beginning part. So,
like, maybe just touch on the ending that we're heading on right now, if that's all right for a sec. So we again, we're trying to show everybody coming together, right? And after the initial relief, it was a lot of what is that? But we're trying to really just show the efforts that were put in from everybody. But we're going to be focusing the end really on replanting and rebuilding Lahaina. We have a few houses that we've shown slowly being rebuilt. Actually, rewind a second too. There's a great segment in here on Truth Excavation as well. For those that don't know, he's born and raised in Lahaina, owns an excavation company. He lost his family home, his home, everything, and since day one, he has not stopped from being community members to also tearing down his own neighborhood, tearing down his house, his friends' houses, everyone around him. And then now the process of everything being flat and actually having hope. Now there's optimism, there's hope. We can see a blank canvas. So really trying to paint that picture of just the hope with the process we're in now of starting to rebuild, as well as all the issues that we have really neglected here in Maui and Hawaii over the last decades. And now I think there's a magnifying glass on us. There's a magnifying glass on a lot of the issues. And we are optimistic that we're gonna re-green Lahaina the right way. We're gonna hopefully bring some water back. We're gonna see a lot more opportunities to be self-sustainable here in Lahaina. And not just making that about Lahaina, but trying to relate that to other places in the world. Trying to inspire other places around the world to maybe start to work on some prevention before having to fix something that already happened. So I'm really excited about our ending and the message that we're going to be able to share.
I think for me and for a lot of people, especially from Lahaina itself, is what's really motivated me in so many ways is trying to envision what that future Lahaina can be and what it should be, and that the community should have a say on what that is. And this re-greening, this rebuilding section, just every house, every holler going up, the possibilities for re-greening Lahaina is just like, it's a thing we definitely want to show in the end, because we want to inspire a lot of people that even if this happens, like, you can look forward to this, you know? And I think this disaster itself, this tragedy, has really woken up a lot of people in so many ways and what we can get back to. And in the community section as well, we are touching on grassroots efforts like Lahaina Strong and all the activism going on. There's so many pieces in that I think we're all very proud of, because there's so many stories, and we want to make sure that we do our best with trying to tell those stories, because like I keep saying, and we all keep saying, this is not our documentary, it's our community's documentary.
Love to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free.
I actually have some footage from the beginning where all the boats were coming in to Airport Beach. And if there is a website or something that we could possibly just send it to, that, I mean, whether you use it or not, like you said, it's just the community. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're around, if I can just get your contact info, I can text you my email or something like that, or if it's on your phone, you can even airdrop it, but that's awesome. Thank you.
A lot of money was coming in really quickly, and are you guys what happened to all that? Like, it seems like the community doesn't know anything about that, and that seems to be the discussion everybody's talking about, like what happened to the hundreds of millions, and it was on TV all the time, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, and there's like 5,000 people with no homes, and why is it taking a year? Like, what's happening with that? And I feel like there's a big disconnect.
We started fundraising 6 months too late, but that was on purpose. We weren't trying to ask for anything. So, I mean, our first fundraiser we were hoping for 30,000 and we raised 3,000. You know, but we waited months to be doing anything like this between ourselves. Maybe one of you guys can jump in on this, but at least from what I know, I've done digging. I've called out companies and nonprofits and all this, but one of the biggest things that I have started to realize is a lot of things are for long-term efforts as well, not just instant relief. A lot of companies have only given out 40% of the funds, and everybody's questioning why. But there's still people that say, hey, hold the money until I'm able to move into my new house or purchase new furniture and these sort of things. I've definitely done my due diligence of and almost put my foot in my mouth with a few companies. But then, they explain, it's not just the instant relief. This is a long road ahead, and there's a lot of people that need funds for things that they're not ready for. People that came out here to help build right away, but there was no land to build on yet. Things like that. So that's at least my 2 cents and from what I've gathered.
Yeah, so it's not really anything we're touching on in the film. And for me, I'm pretty new to the whole nonprofit donation realm, Hawaii Community Foundation, all of that. But like Matty was saying, a lot of the funds were allocated for different reasons. So you have short-term relief, instant relief, relief straight to fire victims so they can have cash in hand. And then you also had more long-term allocated funding for rebuilding, long-term projects, mental health, kids' activities. So and like I said, I'm not fully aware of how it all works, but when you break it all down like that, for the most part, from what these big foundations and organizations claim, the short-term and instant relief funds did get distributed, but that's only sometimes less or a little more than half. So we just had a meeting with, was it Maui United Way, where they explained to us that they still have a lot of money left over, but it's allocated for the long-term recovery. So it's not going straight to fire victims' pockets, you know, and to a certain, and I lost my home, but to a certain degree, I agree with that. You know, we needed a little bit right away, but, you know, stretch it out, and then for our film, we actually did get a little bit of like small grants from some of these organizations that did get donated for those purposes, and we're in talks with other nonprofits for more funding from that that source you're talking about.
We'll see how it all pans out, right? I think there's a discussion I want to do like a podcast or something about it, because whenever there's money involved, there's a lot of trauma response to that. And obviously I didn't lose my house, DeAndre did, but I do think it's an important thing to talk about, and I think it's just a lack of education on how those kind of things operate and how they work. And I do think a lot of organizations, whatever, could do a better job at that. So it's on my radar for sure. I just haven't figured out exactly how to do it, because it's a lot, you know, and it can come with a lot of negativity as well. But it's in the back of my brain for sure.
And it's one of the biggest questions people have.
Yeah, exactly.
And to a certain extent, a lot of these, or probably all of these Maui-based organizations had no idea how to handle the amount of funding that came in. Most of these organizations were dealing with a couple $100,000 or less annually, to all of a sudden multi-millions, or it's a little bit of maybe inexperience and possibly negligence, not to their own fault, but just because the situation is so different and drastic. Like nobody has ever gone through this before. So how do you approach something when you have no blueprint to follow? You know? And that's just who knows? Maybe there is corruption and shady stuff going on behind the scenes. But I trying to stay optimistic about it.
I will say all the ones that I've personally spoke to, like I know a lot of them, and they seem like really good people. And there's obviously, I had the same question as them. I've called out some of them in the past, as you guys may have seen, but there's a lot of solid people working with that money that I do feel like they're going to do the right thing with it. But there's also all the questionable ones too. You know, when there's good, there's always bad. So yeah, I think with the film itself, I don't believe we're going to be touching on it just because of a lack of experience. I feel like that it needs to be a more experienced journalist approach. And I do believe there are some people working on that. But when it comes to my own personal platform, I will be diving into that sometime. And I just can't promise when.
So that sort of intimates that, well, something rises from the ashes, right? And I'm sure as many community members as there are views on how Lahaina should rise, right? Some say banyan tree, yay. Some say no. That's just one example. So, did you, or are you as filmmakers, sort of touching on that? Like, I mean, because it seems to be like a really hard one and a real hard nut to crack, because so many people have different views on how Lahaina should be. I'm sure there's some people who say it should be a smart city. Some people say, well, it used to be green, and there, all the cultural stuff that used to. So,
I love that question. So we're actually our dream right now, and another reason why we need more and more funding all the time is you saw a couple of those placeholders for CGI placeholders, maybe a map with an X on it and things like that. So we're really hoping we're going to be able to show artistically with CGI what we believe ancient Hawaii looked like when Hawaiians were at peak thriving with the land, when things were in ultimate unity, right? We're also going to then show when the waters were diverted and it all drying up. And if you could imagine, just beautiful CGI mapping. At the end of our film, with Lahaina showing an overview map of how it is, we're going to then show that original shot of unity that we have with green Lahaina, with water, with Mala'ulu but and then trying to artistically add in, all right, through CGI, what Lahaina, the buildings were before, but now in an environment that's really at synergy, right? We don't know what it's going to look like. We're just trying to plant the seed in people's minds of what it could possibly look like, right? A future buildings in Lahaina with what it looked like ancient back in the day when everything was in unity.
To a certain degree, obviously, we're not going to be able to satisfy everybody's vision for what Lahaina should be. But I think as all three of us are multi-generational, born and raised. Our families grew up in Lahaina. Our families know you're just from Lahaina. You know, so I think to an extent, this might be in vain, but I think we have a good understanding between the three of us, balancing each other out. We have a good understanding for what the general community might have a vision of. And obviously, like I said, we can't satisfy everybody with that vision, but I think being from the community, we are gonna do our best job to represent what we know to be true coming from our multi-generational experience.
I think with the title of a film, it can mean so many things to different people, right? Lahaina rising from the ashes. Our community section is that. The people being flown over, the therapists, the re-greening section, the rebuilding section. This is all a part of rising from tragedy. So I think it's up for interpretation on how you really view that. And you can definitely go into detail on certain aspects of it. But I think as an overall arching story of it, our community has been rising from the ashes and continues to, and then working towards whatever that ultimate goal that we all agree on is.
I also want to mention that that Matty's family was the ones who came together and did the memorial that you see along the bypass in Lahaina. And can you talk a little bit about the inception of that and what motivated your family to want to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was, from what I believe, my auntie Sunya Schley and my mom, I believe, were talking one day, came up with the idea, and right away told their husbands and my dad. And Soakai, the main guy who you'll see out there every day, my dad and Soakai went out and they even had an old thing that burnt down. It wasn't in Lahaina, and they actually used from an old burnt building some of those pieces of wood that the crosses are made out of. Stayed up all night long making that. And you know, there's my parents know a lot more people that were lost than myself, and I think that was their way of grieving and, you know, showing their respect. And for me, it was even questionable whether we were allowed to, and, you know, they're going on, but it turned out to be in a much bigger and more meaningful thing than I thought it would. That's for sure. You know, that it was definitely everyone in my family was involved, but the Schleys and Soakai people are continuing to upkeep that and make it nice every day.
Yeah, I think it's really a symbol of hope and memorial to the lives lost. So I know that when I go through, it's very meaningful for me, and I imagine it is for a lot of other people when they're first entering back into the Lahaina area, that, you know, you see that, and it's very beautiful. I want to thank our speakers for coming tonight and sharing where they are in their project. And I really thank all of you for coming tonight. And I really hope that you have the ability to maybe support these guys in the ways that you can. And we hope to see you here again at another event. Let's give a round of applause for our filmmakers.